Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Mark Maltby. I am the president of the Owensboro Area World Affairs Council, and we're happy to bring you this program this evening in conjunction with Brescia University. Do want to thank Brescia for allowing us to use the lecture hall, as they have so many times in the past. I was talking to Daniel here. We wish it was smaller so it would look more full, you know, but this will work still. OAC, or World Affairs Council, we're a nonprofit organization. We have memberships that allow us to bring speakers in from various places, like, oh, I don't know, Atlanta, Georgia, perhaps. That's one place. And we hope that at some point you might consider becoming a member to help us continue bringing programs like this. One person who was instrumental in bringing our speaker tonight was a member of our board and also a faculty member here at Brescia. His name is Daniel Cuthey, and I am going to let Daniel introduce our speaker, so please welcome Daniel Cuthey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to those of you that are here and those of you that are joining us on the live stream. I know that some of our online students or some that just couldn't be here tonight are joining us or watching the recording later. So thank you to Brescia and Owensboro Area World Affairs Council for sponsoring this event. Today we have Greg Hodgen joining us. He's the Executive Director of Peace Building Solutions, and he started that organization with a few other people about 10 years ago, and it's an international humanitarian aid NGO, and their main goal is to improve broader humanitarian aid practices to eliminate waste and get rid of things that are counterproductive to the overall mission. So he also holds degrees in chemistry, history, and political science from Emory University and Georgia State University, and is next, if he comes back here again in a couple months, we'll introduce him as Dr. Hodgen, as he'll be defending his dissertation shortly. So without further ado, here's Greg Hodgen.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for making me sound like a huge nerd. I appreciate that. Good evening. How is everybody? Oh, we can do better than that. Good evening. That's better. All right. I'm going to start with a quick story before I dive into what I want to talk about today. And it'll kind of give you an idea, an overview of what I've seen in the field and why it needs to be fixed. So Haiti is a country in the Caribbean Sea, and it kind of looks a little like this. And Port-au-Prince, the capital, is kind of in the gullet of like a weird crocodile kind of thing. And a lot of the work that Peace Building Solutions has done is in Gracier, and a lot of the work I did for my dissertation is in Léogâne, which is right next to Gracier. The earthquake that hit Haiti in 2010 wrecked a lot of things, but the earthquake did not hit Port-au-Prince. It hit Léogâne, but everyone paid attention to Port-au-Prince because that's where most of the people lived. But the epicenter was actually in Léogâne, about an hour away. So part of what I wanted to look at with respect to my dissertation research was how did nonprofits, when they came in, how did they spend their money, how they do it effectively or not effectively. So when I went out there, it was an absolutely gorgeous day. It was 85 degrees. There was a nice breeze coming off the ocean. It was absolutely fantastic. My translator and I were heading down a road, which it was a loose definition of a road. It was two ruts, but a road's a road. Head down there, and we see a perfect example of why aid gets screwed up sometimes. On the left-hand side, we saw three white guys building something. And on the right-hand side, we saw 20 Haitian people watching them build it. At which point I said to my translator, you go talk to them, and I'm going to go talk to them. We're going to find out what's going on here. So I'm going to go talk to these guys, and the second they opened their mouths, I realized where they were from. It was probably Alabama or Mississippi. It was Mississippi. And I said, what are you guys doing here? What's going on? What's happening? And they said, we're building a church for these people. Well, what kind of church are you building? Oh, we're building a Baptist church. Haiti is a Catholic country. The population is very Catholic, very Catholic. Most of their public transportation has Bible verses in English and in Creole, from Daniel, from Exodus, from Ezekiel, all of it. Everywhere. They know the Bible better than probably most of us do. So they were building this thing. I said, okay, how long are you going to be here for? About 4 days. We're building this thing. And I saw they had some tarps ready. What are the tarps for? Well, we don't have enough money to finish the roof. We're going to go back and raise more money and then come back to put the roof on the church. Okay, fair enough. I hear laughing behind me, and I resist the temptation to turn around and ask what in the world he's talking about, but that's okay. I'll be able to get to him in a second. So we keep talking. They said they raised the money. They came down here. Turns out that a pastor who lives near there owns the land, and they're going to build a church here, and the pastor's going to be able to preach from this church. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Go and talk to my translator. And my translator says, so Greg, you need to take a seat because this is going to take a little while. I said, great. When I sat down and we had that conversation, I said, what's going on? They said, we don't know who they're talking about. There is no pastor here. That pastor lives in Port-au-Prince. It's an hour away. He doesn't own this land. He's just building here. I said, how many of you, and there's about 20 men and about 10 women, I said, how many of you are construction workers? And about 18 of them held up their hands. I said, how much would it have cost you to do a day of work to help build this stuff? And they said, it'd be about 500 good. That's about $10 US for a day of work. When I talked to the guys from Mississippi, how much it cost them to come down here, they said, it was about $2,000 a person. You guys can do the math yourself. I said, so what are you going to do when they leave? They said, they're leaving? Yeah, they're leaving in about 3 days. Oh, well, they never told us anything because they never hired a translator. They never talked to us. They just ignore us. They just build their own thing. Well, they're leaving in 3 days. What are you going to do? They said, we're going to rip it all down because that's good wood. The wood came from the United States. The people came from the United States. All that stuff came from the United States. Some church somewhere in Mississippi raised a bunch of money to send these people down here, and all that work's going to be gone the minute they get on that plane. Do you blame the Haitians for what they're doing? No. Imagine if someone came to your place or to your town and they saw an empty lot, and they're like, we're going to put up a Buddhist cathedral or whatever. Who knows what they put up? Not many people probably follow that faith around here. And they leave it half done. They don't talk to you. They ignore you the entire time. That's one of the major issues with humanitarian aid. The fact that we come in, we think we know better than everybody else. We think we know better than the communities themselves. We do these things. And then when we go away, we wonder why they're annoyed with us when we come back, if we ever come back at all. Lo and behold, 3 days later, it was entirely gone. All that would have been recycled into the community to actually reinforce their roofs and to build latrines, which is what they really needed in the first place. But no one had asked them what they actually needed. They just assumed that that's what they needed instead. So, that kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to talk about today.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Out of all of the water pumps that I saw in Leogan that were built after the earthquake, 80% of them were wrecked 6 months after the NGO left. They didn't work anymore. There's a number of reasons why, which I'm going to go into. But the communities were unhappy, very unhappy. I'm going to skip this and come back to this later on. The issues that arise in international humanitarian aid system. There's a culture that permeates the entire system. There's an accountability deficit where NGOs are not accountable to the communities that they work with at all. When donors give money, they distort NGOs because the donor might want something that the NGO doesn't want to do or doesn't know how to do. But because they've got the money, they can call the shots. Just because your heart is in the right place doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. There are unexpected and unintended consequences of interventions. A lot of them hurt people, and a lot of them leave places worse off than before you came in. Single focus NGOs. A lot of NGOs only do one thing. They do shelters. They do water. They do sanitation. That sounds like a good thing. I'm going to show you tonight why it's not. Last but not least, there's a backward business model when it comes to NGOs, which we'll go into as well. Why do NGOs work this way? Because of all these other things. So to start off with, the international aid culture. When we go to other places, we feel like, to be very frank and be very succinct about it, we feel like people owe us things when we go there. We take advantage of things. How many of you guys know about the Oxfam situation that's going on right now? So for those of you who do not know, about 3 or 4 people raise their hands. Oxfam got in very deep trouble, and they're still in trouble, because someone from Oxfam basically held sex parties in Haiti with people that they paid for, prostitutes, with Oxfam money on Oxfam property. When that happened, Save the Children, turns out, had some people do that. And then it turns out that MSF had some people who did that. You see where this is going. These people did not get in trouble. They were fired, and then they were rehired somewhere else. So the guy who did this for Oxfam in Haiti, he had worked for Save the Children in Chad in 2006. He was let go. Oxfam knew about this. They hired him back anyways. This idea that we're coming in so they owe us things, this idea that we can come in and do whatever we want to. Guess how many people were turned over to the Haitian authorities for this? No one. They weren't turned over to the Haitian authorities, and Oxfam's excuse was, well, nothing would happen anyways. Well, nothing will certainly happen if you don't turn them over, will they? So we come in and we think that we're doing people a favor, even if we don't know what we're doing. Every time I've traveled overseas, and every time I've done any kind of intervention work, the fear that Westerners have of the local populations is palpable. People are terrified of the people they're supposed to be working with. Most NGOs and most of their staff, when they come into these places, they are in a small walled enclave. They pay $200 a night for a hotel that has 24-hour security. Why? What are you so afraid of? Are you concerned that they're going to steal your stuff? Because I promise you they're not. You see people who have guards when they go out in the field. The UN agencies in Haiti and in a lot of other places, when they go out, they have armed security guards. What that tells the local population is you are not from here, you were scared of us, and you probably have stuff that we can steal. After all, if you didn't have stuff that you need to steal, why do you need a guard? I have been to Haiti more than almost a dozen times now. I've never needed a security guard. And ironically enough, the people who have security guards get robbed more than the people who don't have security guards. Because when I go to Haiti, I'm certainly not dressed like this because it's way too hot for this. I'm wearing a t-shirt and I'm wearing blue jeans. They don't care. They don't think, oh, look, it's a Westerner, let me go take his stuff. They look at the people who have big, massive Land Rovers and who are drinking filtered bottled water and all that good stuff. I bought water off the street. It doesn't kill you. It's sealed in a plastic bag. It's fine. Tastes good. It's cold. Buy Cokes off the street. It's not going to kill you. Yeah, there's no Pepsi in Haiti. Coke has really gotten its fingers into Haiti. It's all Coca-Cola, and they make it locally too. And it's got sugar. It's delicious, like the rum. Buy food off the street. In Port-au-Prince, you're driving down the street and people literally walk by you, and you can hold out money and buy water or food or drinks, and they just hand it right to you. And it's cheap too. Like for water, it's like about a dime for water. A Coke, like a half-liter Coke, is 50 cents. Yeah, it's great. These other guys, though, they're afraid. The second the sun goes down, you must be home. We can't guarantee your safety if you're not home. I've run through the streets of Port-au-Prince at night alone with my phone and my earbuds in because I wanted to run a mile a day, and it nearly killed me, but whatever. No one messes with you. No one does anything like that. But the fear is there. And when people continue to come into your country over and over and over again, and that fear radiates from them, how would you feel? Knowing everyone who comes in is terrified of you. Knowing that everyone, that people who you're working with wish they had gloves on, that you're some sort of subhuman species because, your country is poor and therefore because of that I should keep you at arm's length. This culture is toxic. That's why Oxfam and these other guys, this is why this happens. This is not a secret. The UN mission in Haiti, when I was down there, we knew where the brothels were. Why did not report these things? Because guess who came out of the brothels? The Haitian National Police and the UN, the two institutions that were supposed to be producing law and order. They're the ones who are using the brothels. I'm not going to go into detail about that, about what was going on, but the fact is that because of this concept of fear, because of this concept of this culture, we can just come and do whatever we want to, and there's no responsibility whatsoever. This leads to toxicity, and this leads to a culture where you can get away with, in some cases, literally murder. The accountability deficit. Who are INGOs accountable to? Who do INGOs work for? International non-governmental organizations have two sets of constituencies. They have two sets of people they're trying to please. One, they're trying to take care of the communities that they work with, the people they work with, right? And then you have the donors. And the donors are the ones who cut your checks. Who do you think most INGOs are going to listen to first? The community or the people who cut your checks? More often than not, it's people who cut your checks. When that happens, the local community usually gets lost in what's going on. Accountability flows up, it doesn't flow down. Local communities are usually ignored when it comes to these things. Time and time and time again, when I was doing my research, and even when I've been in the field with peace building solutions, when's the last time someone talked to you? I don't understand. You people don't talk to us. It is something kind of shocking when I get called you people. I haven't had that happen ever. It was a bizarre thing because they lumped all of us together. Now, we do go out there, we do engage in research, we ask questions, but to them, we all look the same. Doesn't matter. We're just a Western NGO. So, in their self-interest, they talk with the donors, and they work with the donors, and the donors can push them wherever they want to go. And so because of that, who do INGOs listen to? The people who give you the money. More often than not, most of the larger NGOs can't even listen to local communities because the donors want you to be doing these certain things. You have no idea how much paperwork is involved in getting a grant from a lot of these foundations or from the US government. Speaking of donors, let's discuss donor distortions. As I said beforehand, the donor is king. When someone gives you money, usually you listen to what the donor says. There's two types of money that people can give to charities. One is called unrestricted money. That's when you make a donation, you don't attach a note to it. The charity can usually do whatever it wants to with it. Charities really like that because that means we can spend things on money that most people don't want to spend it on. And I'm going to get into that paradox later on about why that's really crazy. What that leads to is progressive startups but conservative institutions. When the Red Cross started in the 1860s, it was a brand new idea. But the Red Cross has been doing the same thing for 140 years. Why? Because if it changes, it loses donors. So it becomes the startups that begin, do these very progressive things, these very new things. Then they get locked in. And they get locked in because once you start getting money, people are paying you to do what you were doing, right? So then you get locked into that. Good example. How many of you guys know where your keyboard layout came from? Anybody? Why? Yes. That was not a 20-year-old who said that, by the way. There's a reason for that. Coming from people who have just had computers, you look at it and you're like, that's just a keyboard, that's just the way it looks. The keyboard that you have was designed in that way to slow you from typing too fast so that when you were typing, only one physical key would slam against the paper at a time so that you wouldn't jam your typewriter. We don't use those things anymore. We haven't used it in 50 years. There is a better keyboard. It's called a Dvorak keyboard where you can type about 300 words a minute. You've never heard of it and you've never seen it. Why? Because That keyboard layout was locked in almost 100 years ago, and we learned, and our great-grandparents learned it, and our grandparents learned it, and our parents learned it, and so on. It got locked in. It's called path dependency. And the idea behind that is once you create something, you get locked into it. Same thing with, it's the issue that Tesla has right now. Why doesn't everyone have a Tesla? It's better for the environment. It's easier than that. Why doesn't everyone have a Tesla? One, it's expensive, sure. What's the other big issue with a Tesla? It's not even that. That's a part of it. That's part of it. But what else? You have to charge it. I cannot take a Tesla across the country. I can't charge it everywhere. So even if this new idea comes up, you got to change the infrastructure as well, right? Same thing with computers. I mean, when you look at a computer now, you see, for those of you who are 18 or 19 or 20, you see a little blue thing that looks like a little square, and you click that to save. That was a floppy disk. It doesn't exist anymore. Most computers don't use those things anymore. I don't think they even make them anymore. But you still use that. It's locked in. Same thing with NGOs, and the same thing with donors. Once you have your mission and you start getting money, you're locked into that mission mandate. And if you change, you risk losing those people. So you have these very progressive ideas, and they become conservative institutions. No one wants to be incompetent. No one wants to be evil. No one wants to have an outdated model, but you get stuck in it. That's why you got to stay small. You got to stay mobile. So 9 times out of 10, it always starts with this. But the donor said X, Y, or Z. But the donor said they want us to focus on X. We're supposed to be focusing on water. We're supposed to be focusing on this. Supposed to be focusing on that. The donor said they want us to focus on children. Well, that's not really our mandate, but they're giving us money, so we should at least push a little bit. 20 years of that, and you're not doing what you're doing anymore, and now you're stuck. All right, everyone's got a smartphone, right? Who does not have a smartphone in here that's on them right now? Good for you. Unfortunately, most of us are tired of these things. All right, who's got an Android? Hold up your hands. And who's got an Apple? Hold up your hands. Oh, about 50-50. All right, cool. I have an Android. I don't like Apple. Good for you guys. When you bought your phone, you might have bought it from T-Mobile or Verizon or Sprint, or you might have bought it from Amazon, right? Who bought it from their phone company? Okay. Who bought it off of Amazon? Who bought it from somewhere else? Who's fell off the back of a truck? When you paid for that, so I've got a Galaxy S7. I think it was like $500 or $600 because the other one broke because it's been like everywhere. I paid about $600 for this, and when I put down my money, they took it, and that was that, right? But when you give a donation to a charity, I only want you to spend 5% of this on salaries. I only want you to spend this money to buy water for kids. You can't spend it on anything else. Imagine if you ran a business that way. You walk into the phone store, I only want you to spend 2% of this on the CEO's salary. No more, or I will not give you the money. It's idiotic. And yet, people go, well, I don't want to pay. You hear donors go, I want to give people money so that they can go and give kids water. That's part of our mandate, sure. But what about HR? How do I pay them? No, I don't want anyone in the United States to get any money whatsoever. Okay, well, now I can't pay them. Now I can't get the people that I need to go out to the field to do the job. So when you see those nice little donations, 97% of your money is going to go to this cause. That's true. The problem is they still have to find money to pay the back end. You still have to have someone who does your taxes. You still have to have someone who balances your books. You still have to have these things. And volunteers, if you're big enough, don't cut it. And yet there's this huge push for people to go, oh, no, I only want my money to go to this. But if you did it for a business, they'd laugh you out of the store, wouldn't they? But for some reason, we think it's okay for someone to say, and this has happened on so many occasions, especially with like university donations, I only want this money to go to build the football stadium. And universities go, oh, for the love of God, we don't have a football team. I don't care. I want a football stadium with my name on it. Here's $20 million. But we don't have I do not care. I don't care if anyone never plays in it. Build the stadium. And the university people, of course, are going, but we could give raises to professors. We could produce new classes. We could do these things. No. That's why the donor has so much power. Of course, the university can do something, but most universities don't do it. What could the university do? Say no. No thanks. But if we say no to that one, what if no one ever gives us money ever again? Fear keeps, to quote Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars, fear will keep the local systems in line. It's tough because you don't want to say no to money, but sometimes money has way too many strings attached to it for you to do anything with it. We've said no to donations on more than one occasion. We had someone who basically said, hey, look, I want to give you $50,000, and that'll run your whole intervention that you were running in Haiti. That's great, but there's a catch. There always is. I want to come down there with you and do the work with you. Okay, what's your degree in? Well, I'm an accountant. Do you have any water expertise? Do you know how to build a latrine? Do you know how to... No. Have you been out of the country? No. But you want to go down there? Yeah. Keep your money. That was a difficult thing to say because that was all of it. But you see why. Donors have this massive control. And where do most donors in the international aid system get their where do most NGOs in the international system get their money from? Governments, international organizations. The UN, the EU, the United States. USAID is run by the State Department. That's who cuts a lot of these checks. USAID has a bunch of stuff that you have to do. We don't take USAID money for a reason. People go, you're insane. That's a lot of government money. The reason is because if you take USAID money, USAID says this is an act passed by Congress. This is not, I'm not just making this up, it's in law. If you buy anything with that money in that country, it has to have a stamp on it that says USAID, a gift from the American taxpayer. Haiti has a complicated history with the United States due to the fact that we invaded and occupied that country for 20 years. When they see that, they're not too happy about it at all. And people have been chased out of communities with machetes, including myself. So it's something that people don't think about. You know, well, they have so much money, but can they spend all that money where they want to spend it? Usually not. Unexpected and negative consequences. Good intentions aren't enough when it comes to doing good work. I cannot stress this enough. I've seen it so many times, it makes me want to grab what little hair I have left out. In the United States of America, when you build a house, who owns the land that your house is on? You do. You buy the land and then you own the house that's on the land, right? Usually you sell them as a unit. In most other countries, that is not the case. You rent the land from somebody else and you build the house on that. So, when we went down to Haiti in 2013, there was a church group that was going to go down there. They had sponsored a poor family. This poor family was living in a very small shack. It was almost like a hovel. And they were going to come down. They're going to build the whole house, which they did. They actually did most of it right. They had carpenters. They had masons, all these good things. They came down. They built this house, and they gave each other high fives, took pictures, and they left. I was there for a few months. The family got evicted. The house was theirs. The land was not. The land's value went up because there was a better house on it. They couldn't afford the property taxes and the rent from the landlord. The landlord threw them out. You built them a house, you made them homeless. It would never cross our minds to think about like that from an American standpoint. We don't think about these things. Why would we? Obviously, you own the land. No, you don't. Because they missed that one thing, there was a reason that family was living in that small little hovel. They were saving up money to buy land somewhere else. They could afford that and build something slightly bigger. They didn't want anything too big. In fact, they kept begging the church to not build it, and the church didn't bring a translator. Please don't build this house. Why? It's going to be a great house. It's going to have like 4 rooms and please, for the love of God, do not build this house. They built the house, and they're gone, and now they're homeless. Labor market distortions. When you send someone down to Haiti or Malaysia or Kenya or wherever, you've seen trips where you can go and build X, Y, or Z. You build a shelter, you build a school, you build a clinic, whatever. How many people in this room right now are licensed carpenters? Raise your hands. No one. How many people in this room are licensed electricians? Raise your hands. I got 1, 2, wow, 2. Like, this is the first time I've ever given this talk that someone actually raised their hand. Awesome, good for you. How many people in this room are licensed plumbers? Yeah, no one ever raises their hand for that one either. But actually you do, some of those countries you do, You do have to be licensed, but people ignore it. That's the issue. You don't have to be licensed. That's true. I can go out there and just start building whatever I want to. Is that good? Is that right? Is that okay? I have no plumbing experience whatsoever, but now I'm Mario. Same thing with carpentry, masonry, bricklaying, all these things. Some people might have that skill set. Awesome. But when you go down there, not only do you not have the skill set, you've taken someone else's job. Someone who might have that skill set. And someone who will work for a lot cheaper than you will. Remember, to fly to Haiti alone, even from Atlanta, there's a direct flight from Atlanta to Haiti, once a day. It's $300 round trip. That's cheap. I can pay someone in Haiti $10 a day to work for a day. Your ticket costs $300 alone. Then I got to feed you. Then I've got to make sure that you've got food and water, you got a place to stay. Transportation, gas is $5 a gallon down. No, it's $4 a liter, so it's $16 a gallon to get around. That's why everyone uses little motos. Much easier to get around. When you don't hire locals and you bring Americans in, you bring Westerners in, you're distorting the labor market. And those people who have those skill sets can't use them. And most importantly, when people who are untrained do these things, you're messing up even more because now, and this has happened so many times it makes me want to cry, someone comes in, we're going to build you a school. Got a bunch of teenagers who have never swung a hammer in their entire life. They do what they think is carpentry. They go to bed. The villagers get up, tear the stuff down you did that day, and rebuild it because they have the skill set. But they need your money to make it happen. Well, it'd be an easier way to do that. Just give them the money to build it themselves. But then you don't get that nice little feel-good feeling of, but I was there and I helped. You didn't help. You got in the way. We don't like to think about that. We like to think that when we go and do the right thing, that everyone wins. Everyone doesn't win. In Haiti, I was just having this conversation at dinner, actually. Haiti grows a lot of rice. A lot of rice. It was actually self-sufficient in agriculture, at least with rice, up until about the 1980s and the 1990s. The United States imposed tariffs on Haitian rice. You couldn't sell Haitian rice here anymore because most Haitian rice is actually grown in one U.S. state. Does anyone know what it is? Let me put it this way. These tariffs were put into place from about 1993 to about 2001. Arkansas. Where President Clinton was from. He put up tariffs to make sure that the local Arkansas rice market could sell their rice and not be competitive with the Haitians. And so the excess rice that was grown in Arkansas was dumped into Haiti. What happens when you dump a bunch of free product into a market? Price drops. Now the people who were growing rice can't sell their rice. In 2010, when the earthquake hit, the United States, through USAID, sent tons and tons and tons of rice. We're going to feed everybody. Awesome. Too bad that the people who actually grew rice are not in the earthquake zone. They're way up north. They can't sell their rice. Can't sell your rice, can't pay your rent. Can't pay your rent, you get thrown out. Where do they go? Port-au-Prince. That's where all the jobs are. Now you have people who have been displaced by the earthquake where the earthquake never touched because of what we did. Because we dumped something free that shouldn't have been free out there. What's the logical solution to that? Buy local Haitian rice and then give it out. We didn't do that. Instead, we caused even more distortions after the earthquake. In combat zones, Somalia is an excellent example of this. Somalia has been in a low-level / high-level conflict for about 20, 30 years now. Refugee communities everywhere like that. There's very few resources. So aid workers come in and they start handing out food. That is a resource. Warlords come and take the food and they hold it hostage and they use that to feed their warriors so they can go back into the fight. By giving people food, you have increased the chances of the conflict lasting longer. We don't think about these things. We go, but now they have food. Now they have rice. Now they have t-shirts. My other personal favorite is shoes. I'm sure you've seen it at some point. There's shoe drives. Someone collects shoes, and we're going to ship it to country X or country Y, right? I've seen what happens to those shoes. There are massive garbage dumps in Haiti, and it's all on fire. It burns 24 hours a day. The smell is awful. Goats just kind of like go through it and, start eating stuff. Most of it is shoes and t-shirts. Where do you think that stuff came from? It came from us. We ship that stuff. And we don't ship new shoes usually. We usually ship old shoes. Stuff that we worn for 2 years. Oh, someone else can use that. They don't want that either. They don't want it. They don't need it. So when it comes to that, you see people, taking that stuff, they collect it, then I got to ship it to Haiti, right? I got to put it on a boat or a plane, ship it all the way down there. I got to pay customs fees. Then I got to transport it. That's going to cost gas. Got to hire somebody to do that. Then I got to distribute it. And then I got to make sure that I find, the right shoe size for the right person and all that good stuff. Well, about 50% of it's garbage. I mean, literal, like it's falling apart, it's rotting, whatever. You just throw those away. Well, I'm not going to throw away the United States. We'll ship it to Haiti. Then they pick through what they want. Some of them don't get it because they can't find anything they like, or it's all too degraded. Where's the rest of it go? Goats eat it, or it's lit on fire. Same thing with T-shirts. Haiti had a textile industry, a pretty big one. A lot of our T-shirts, in fact, some suits and some other high-end stuff came from Haiti. When you send in free T-shirts, same thing as the rice. You've wrecked the labor market. You've wrecked the market. Can't sell your T-shirts. Those textile industries get shut out. And they were getting paid well. They were getting paid, $8 to $9 an hour. That does not sound like a lot to us. But to them, if you're getting paid $10 a day to do construction work and you're getting paid $8 an hour to do work in a factory, people ran for those jobs. They were excited to do that. And now it's gone. A lot of those factories have been closed down, which is really sad. They wanted that. They wanted to do that. It's not the best work, but it was better than what they had. Last but not least, when you're able to stop conflicts, when it comes to unexpected consequences, Cyprus is an excellent example of this. You freeze them forever. In Cyprus, the Turkish government controls like the top third or the top quarter of that, and the Greeks control the rest. It has been this way since 1974. The UN intervened and stopped it, but it's been frozen for 40-something years. There's a lot of these conflicts. Israel-Palestine is a good example. Cyprus is a good example. Yes, the good intention was to stop the fighting. Now we haven't fought anymore, but nothing else has happened. They're all stuck. All this stuff together, good intentions are not enough. Single-focus NGOs, before I do this, I'm going to go back. Actually, I'm going to say that for later on. Single-focus NGOs, everyone needs water, right? It's a basic human need. Everyone needs water. So there's a lot of NGOs that only do water. That's all they do. And that's, fine. They have expertise. They have what they need to do. Great. What if the community doesn't need water? What if they need schools? The pressure on the NGO is, they gave me money to build 500 wells, or 1,000 wells, or 2,000 water pumps, or whatever. And by God, we're going to build 2,000 water pumps. So I'm going to build you one whether you like it or not. And that's what happens. They do. The community says, even the ones who bring translators, well, we don't need a water well. We need latrines. Well, we don't know how to build that. We only do water. Well, do you know anyone who does? No, we just build water wells. Oh, okay. I guess you can build a water well. Awesome. Let's build a water well. Let's take our pictures as we go. Does the community care about that water well? No. Do they care if it's fixed? No. These are why most of them busted and why most of them are broken, because the community had no investment in it. There was no need for them to care about it. The NGO got what they wanted. They get to go back to the donor and say, hey, look, we built 5,000 wells. Look at how awesome we are. Did the donor ask, are they still around after a month? No. Donor got what they wanted. I was able to build 5,000 wells and so. Same thing. Single issue NGOs do have their uses though, and there's a lot of them that do very good work. But if you ignore this exclusion of everything else, you get in trouble too. If an NGO comes in and says, hey, look, you don't need water, we know an NGO that is looking to build a school, and you need a school. Cool, let's send them over there. Well, where's the incentive for them to do that from their donor perspective? Why should they care? Their whole point is, we want to go and build this. Everyone does need water, but maybe the community doesn't. Maybe the community, the water's like 7th on their list. Maybe they need vaccinations first. Maybe they need to make sure that kids have shoes for school. Maybe they need school uniforms. If you don't ask, you don't know. Where's the incentive for a single issue NGO to ask questions? There isn't one. You either need water or you don't. Everyone needs water. Done. I have an idea. I'm going to go and sell a bunch of stuff and then find out if people like it. Does that work? Usually you do market research first, right? You find out what people's needs are, and if the product isn't fit to that, you're not going to sell it yet, or you're going to refine it. NGOs do stuff first, and then they ask questions. We're going to hand out stuff, and then we're going to see if you needed that or not. After the earthquake in Haiti, tarps everywhere. Thousands and thousands and thousands of tarps were everywhere. And people need tarps. You can use it for shelter. You can use it to stop floodwaters, things like that. They're very useful. So they handed out all these tarps. Problem is that when everyone's bringing tarps, again, the market becomes oversaturated. There were so many tarps out there that tarps weren't worth anything. They were worth zero. So what do you do with them? You leave them out. In Haiti, because it's in a tropical environment, the sun is going to beat down these things. Tarps are plastic. UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation breaks down plastic. Within 3 months, these tarps have degraded. They've been destroyed. Doing nothing. Total waste. Instead, maybe you should do research first. Ask them what they need and go from there. And yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? That we would actually think that you don't ask them anything, you hand them stuff, and you think it's going to go well. Usually what happens is someone gets a grant, they do the intervention, then they ask, okay, did this work? Good, you got what you wanted, right? Fantastic. Then they leave. The system is exactly backwards with respect to how this works. This is a small encapsulation of all the problems that we have with respect to the international humanitarian aid system. And the stuff that I've seen and the stuff that I've researched will just make your skin crawl when it comes to what's been going on. Now, here's your results. You got 30 water NGOs building pumps everywhere because water's easy to do. You drill a pump and you drop you drill a well, you drop a pump in it. Easy enough. Water is everywhere. No one has a school because no one thought to give money for schools. So now every community has 5 pumps. 4 of them are going to break because you don't need 5 pumps. So you have oversaturation of one specific topic or one specific area. There's 2,000 latrines, no water wells. There's 5 schools, no clinic. And you have unsaturated of others. There's no even distribution of what's needed because the incentives are not there for you to ask those questions or figure out what's going on. The amount of waste is ridiculous. A few years ago, NPR and ProPublica did a in-depth analysis of the amount of money that the American Red Cross raised for Haiti. They raised $500 million for Haiti. That is a lot of Cheetos. It's a lot of Smarties. That's a lot of money. They built 6 houses with $500 million. I'm dying to see what this house looks like because that thing must have been huge. These were very small houses. Where did the money go? A lot of it went to pay off debt that the Red Cross had, almost $150 million, just disappeared into debt. A lot of it went to hire American consultants who had no idea how to build stuff in Haiti. Who did they not hire? Local Haitian consultants, local Haitian land lawyers. To build houses, you need to figure out the Haitian land laws, right? Because again, you don't own that land, you're going to rent it out, or you might need to buy that land to build that house. During Hurricane Mitchell a couple years ago, Haitians tweeted, "Do not give money to the American Red Cross, we never saw it." Haitians tweeted that. They are angry about this because and from their perspective, they're right. We see that you have raised billions of dollars. Where is it? Where did it go? What's going on with it? And people don't think about that. They go, oh, well, I gave money to the Red Cross, cool, whatever. Massive amounts of monumental waste. Because of the perverse incentives of the system, locals are locked out of their interventions. You don't even ask the community what the needs are. You just assume that you know what it is. And because of that, the locals, who are the people you're trying to help, you ignore. Because you don't care, because who's running your stuff? The donors are. This leads to short-term relief, but long-term destruction. So, yeah, you can get your water now. But when the pump breaks in a month, what if people move there because there's a pump that's working and now the pump breaks? Now you've messed up with more people because you didn't come back to check. This sometimes, and more often than not, leads to, after the intervention, the communities are worse off than they were before. They used to have some water, and that well was working okay. Then someone put a pump in it, the pump broke, they can't get to the well now. They did have latrines, or they were using something for latrines, and then someone built it and it filled up. Now they can't go back to the other place anymore. So you have things where, even though you had the best of intentions, you screwed up, and people suffer for it. So, this is a number of people who have been displaced globally. You'll notice it's a large number, 65.6 million people from all over the world. More than half of those are kids. And with refugees especially, this system is designed to kind of hold them in place. It's designed to hold you in place so that the political situation can change and things like that. The average amount of time that someone spends in a refugee camp is 8 to 10 years. That's average. There are some camps where people have lived their entire lives in a refugee camp, and their parents lived entire lives in a refugee camp. Imagine going to these places where, again, a lot of these people are running these programs where they're based in this very specific basic emergency model. So I'm going to go back, way back. Everyone's kind of based in this specific emergency situation model. Yeah, there we go. All right, so the blue side over here is emergency humanitarian work. The right side is development. Humanitarian work is what you see after, I don't know, flooding. I don't know if you guys know anything about that. The Red Cross comes out, hot meals. They're going to help you with shelter, help you with FEMA, get your insurance up and running, all that good stuff. That's emergency stuff. That's 3 months to 6 months tops that are gone, right? Tornadoes, flooding, things like that. Very short-term things. Development on the right-hand side is what a lot of that's where a lot of the longer-term interventions come in. That is where you see we're going to work with the local community to build a well or build a school or train teachers or things like that. We do in between. PS Building Solutions does in between. So we work with protracted refugee scenarios. We work with people who have been displaced. They're not going to be displaced forever, but they're not going home anytime soon either. We call it temporarily permanent. Development people don't want to work with them. Development people want to work with permanent communities, so they work with the state. A lot of these people that we work with, they are squatting on land illegally because they don't have a choice. They couldn't do anything else. They can't go anywhere else. Every refugee who has fled is going to another country where they are usually not welcome or at least just barely tolerated. So the goal is, well, we'll just give them food and water for 3 months and hope they go home. And repeat that for 20 years. The biggest killer of most refugees is not starvation. It's not dehydration. It's not health. It's depression. Where is my life? What am I going to do? And because of the way the system is set up, no one asks them, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? So, should have thought this through. We ask them. We have an entire research team. We have economists, political scientists, sociologists, anthropologists who go out into the field and ask questions. What would you like? How can we help you? And it sounds simple and it sounds easy, but you see now why most other people don't do that. They don't ask those questions. Why would they? I build water wells. Everyone needs water. Let's go build water wells. We go and ask questions. And we separate the community based on gender and age. We ask the men what their needs are. We ask the women what their needs are. We ask the kids what their needs are. We try to include people with disabilities when we ask what their needs are. Because no community is a monolith. Looking across these people right now, there's gender and there's age and there's race and there's other stuff, right? There is no such thing as a community. It's not a monolith. Different people want different things. And different people are going to ask different questions. So we go, we figure out what's going on, we do the research, we do an environmental scan, demographics, what's needed, what's going on. In Haiti, when we did our research, the men said, oh, we need goats, we need farming gear, we need seeds, we need tarps, we need water. My director of research, Rachel Lewis, is an African-American woman. She has her master's in medical anthropology. So her first thought was, so what do the women want? In Haiti, Haiti's a very patriarchal society. women don't really talk that much when there's a guy around. So she took all the women with a female translator and asked questions. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, those answers were very different from what the men asked. Very different. They said, oh, well, the kids need to go to school. Okay, how can we help with that? They need shoes. They don't have shoes. It's a 2-mile walk, and there's ringworm and hookworm on the way back and forth. We've had some cases of that. Can we get them shoes? They need school supplies. We said, okay. We talked with the women in the community, and they came up with a plan. They actually pulled out a notebook, and they pulled all the people in the community and asked them, all right, how many, I've got a decent idea of who has what kids, because, the guys say they're in charge of the women know how many, who's in a fight with who's yelling at who, all that good stuff. Men might run the community, but the women have all the institutional knowledge of what's going on. Women are really the leaders with respect to who's doing what, especially when it comes to education of children. When you invest in a man, you invest in the man. When you invest in a woman, you invest in the community. That's true more often than not. So girl power, go. I believe Beyonce said it best. Who runs the world? Girls. Now, when we did that, again, the answers changed. They wanted shoes, so she went ahead and she pulled out a notebook. She asked each of the parents over, you got this kid, what's their shoe size? What shoe size do you want? Now, men and women who have children, so children have this bad habit of growing because you feed them. And as they get bigger, their feet get bigger. So when you have a kid who's 4, you don't give them, if they have a shoe size of 3, you don't give them shoes of size of 3. You give them shoes of size of 5 or 6 so they can grow into them. Because in 6 weeks, they're going to be big enough anyways. So they asked these parents what shoe size should be, right? And so they did that. They asked all that good stuff. And once they did that, we went to the store. Oh, no, we didn't. We gave that woman money and took her to the store and had her buy it. Why? Because of this, we stand out. We get what's called the blonde price, the white price in Haiti. That's 300% to 400% more than people would get otherwise because we look like rich Americans. We don't speak Creole. The second we open our mouths, they're like, oh, okay. No. That's $6,000 for the water. Yep. We sent her in. Who do you think can negotiate better than anybody else? I bet you she can. And she did. She went in and she negotiated for that. And she came with a big old plastic sack of shoes. The men wanted the wheelbarrows and they wanted the farming tools and things like that. We sent them to the hardware store. We handed them the money. They walked in and negotiated. Again, same reason. They got a good price. When we came back, she actually took out the shoes. She pulled out the notebook. She called each of the kids forward and said, you, size 4, dug it out, hand it to them. Every kid got a pair of shoes that their parents knew that they needed in the right size. Total cost, $300 for 100 kids. Right? They do. Some of them wanted flip-flops. Some of them wanted something else. Usually it's flip-flops because it's so hot. But yeah, that's what they got. And that sounds like a lot of money, but that means it's $3 for every pair of shoes. That's nothing. Imagine shipping 300 pairs of shoes or 100 pairs of shoes from the United States to Haiti and doing that. You've already eaten that up with customs fees, with transportation fees, all that stuff. Because we invested in the research first, by spending a couple $1,000s on research, we saved tens of thousands of dollars when we actually went out into the field with everything. Because they told us exactly what they needed and what we can do with it. You cannot be more efficient than that, can you? And it's all because we asked them, what do you need? How can we get you there? So, just as we discussed beforehand, so Habitat for Humanity, they build lots and lots. In the United States, they understand the model because they're American. You build homes in America because you own the land. We're going to help you build your home. Fantastic. The model doesn't work. It's not transportable everywhere else. What if you don't own the land? Then you build a house, they get kicked off. Same thing. If you don't do your stuff, you're good to go. Also, our differentiator, we hire everything locally. So when it came to building some of these things, we didn't do it. We paid them to do it. They negotiated with us. And they think that they got us because they're like, no, we're only going to take $6 US for a day of work. Oh, okay. Well, you really got us. And you know very well that no American's going to work for $6 a day. But they were happy with that. They were fine with that because it was their work for their community. We didn't tell them what needed to be done. They already knew. I don't know how to mix concrete. I'm getting a PhD in political science. I don't know that. They do. They did it. I had to tell them to do that. So when you source supplies locally, we didn't ship anything from the United States. We went down to Haiti with about $10,000 in our briefcases and our luggage. We came down with cash. Didn't need to ship anything. We shipped two things. We couldn't find water filters in Port-au-Prince that were easy to replace, that would work without power or anything else like that. So we continue to ship down filters so they can keep using those. And the water collection systems we couldn't find. Basically, it's like an upside-down umbrella. Everything else we bought locally. All the shoes. I mean, come on, guys. Goats. I ain't going to ship that from the U.S. I could, but I'm not. Everything else we bought locally. So we bought all that money down there. And we locally sourced the labor, and we locally sourced the materials. So if the kid's shoes break, she knows where to get the shoes. It's 2 miles down the road. If the goats go off or whatever, they know where to find the goats. If they need more farming tools, they know where that is. Everything was local. That means every dollar that we collected was spent there, and there, a dollar goes a lot further than it does in the United States. So that stimulated their economy as well. Play Pumps International, they install power pumps for merry-go-rounds. It sounds like a really cool idea. What if they don't need water? What if all those kids, because that you install in like a little playground, what if kids need to be in school instead? Again, by engaging in the research, you gain their trust, you gain their respect, and then they tell you what's needed. When you get that deep understanding and that support, you're good to go. American Red Cross already went over that. The reason we say high-impact donations, if you give me $2,000 to do research, I can save you $500,000 because I'm not asking for random stuff. I will tell exactly what is needed, and we're good to go. And I don't need a large staff. I don't need a large staff to do these things because the staff is the community who we pay. I do not expect someone who has been running from war, who might have watched their family die in front of them, to work for free. Would you? I wouldn't. So, like I said, we did the Haiti project, very, very basic. All that stuff I said, the goats, all the tarps, the water systems, including installation, the kids' shoes, the kids' school equipment. The kids asked for soccer balls, by the way, so we got them that too. Farming, water systems, the water collection stuff, everything that we did, including buying the labor lunch that day, and shooting a documentary, and paying my staff, was $12,000. That's nothing. Documentary's online. You're welcome to go to www.solvepeace.org and watch it. It's about 7 or 8 minutes. It is all in Creole because we aren't in it, because it's not about us. It's about them. Yes, there's translations. $12,000 we spent on that entire project because we had built the trust, we knew who the vendors were, we knew where they needed to go. Now we're raising money to buy land for the community. They want a permanent place to live. And when I say land, we're talking about they want land, they want houses, they want a wall. Everyone in Haiti, if you have a community, you build a wall. They want a shelter, they want a clinic. 2 of those houses will be for us. We will live in the community with them until they tell us that they don't need us anymore. We expect it to be 5 to 7 years. The idea behind that is if you live in the community and there's a problem, they will tell you. When you break bread with the community, when you drink their water, when you eat at their tables, you gain their trust. Too many NGOs are scared of doing this because what if something happens? Why would it? What'd you do wrong? Do you treat them like dirt? Do you treat them as subhuman? Do you run back to your hotel room where you spend $200 a night? We spent $30 a night to stay where we did. We did not have running toilets. I'm not going to go into detail any more than that. No AC either. I lost weight. It was fantastic. We had power 2 hours out of every 24, but they respected that because they're like, you're not in the same boat we're in, but you're a lot closer than those guys are up the hill. So they need land, they need latrines, they need all these things. The goal is, we said, what do you guys want to do? We're farmers. They don't need us to teach them how to farm. You know the saying, give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man a fish, he eats for a lifetime, right? What if the man doesn't have a fishing pole? Doesn't matter how much you teach him. They don't have the materials. It doesn't matter, does it? At all. So, we want to do that in Haiti. We do advocacy, where we actually go to the UN to talk about refugee issues. And this year, 2018, there's actually a global compact for refugees that's being signed by like all the member states of the UN. We got language in it about making sure to engage in research-based work and also to ensure that you have local community decisions made at the local level so that we can make sure that the local community is actually involved. We're trying to change the system, the entire system, not just Haiti, not just Lebanon where we want to go, not just Nigeria. We want to change the entire international humanitarian aid system. It will take about 75 years. I will be dead. That is fine with me, unless I freeze my body or upload to the internet. We're hoping for that. That's fine with me. I don't mind knowing that it's going to take longer, but you see now all the issues that you have against it. It doesn't matter how much work you do on the ground if no one knows about it. And a lot of these refugees have no voice, so we give them one. So if you want to see what we're doing, here's all of our stuff. All of our stuff. And besides that, I think I'm ready to rock and roll. So Daniel, by all means.
All right. Well, very much, Greg, for your presentation. We have some time now for those of you that would like to ask some questions. And please wait till I bring around the mic so the people watching the recording can hear, or those online.
And don't be shy. Or be very shy. It's up to you, I guess.
I spent about 20 years working in Nicaragua periodically. Went down every couple of years. Worked with the church group. We were one of those groups that was very unskilled. But you know, I think we did some things right, and I wanted to speak in favor of those unskilled people who will go down if they're careful. Our relationship was built on equality. It was built on sharing. It was built on identifying their needs by asking them, all of that kind of thing. We lived in their houses at night, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I think that this does, by getting people who are not necessarily the best laborers down there to help on projects, whether it's painting a church or planting a garden, is it builds relationships. It builds understanding. And I think out of that project, what we were really getting was an expansion of the vision of people in this country about what it's like to be part of another world, to finding out, who these people are, who are brothers and sisters, but finding out what we share with them rather than how we're different, all of that. So, we made mistakes. I'm conscious of that, but it seems to me that the long-term good for the high school students who went down with us and the others, in terms of their vision of the world and what our relationship was to that, was a positive.
Yeah, and the thing is, one of the things I like about what you said was we made mistakes. That's really the key. We make mistakes too, all the time. I can't tell you the number of mistakes we've made. There's a sign in our office that says you're probably wrong and that's all right. The reason is because when you do research, and for those of you who are in school right now, I'm going to tell you right now, so you do all the research, and you look at all the books, and you read everything, and then you take half of it when you go out in the field, and you throw it out. Because someone wrote something down and it was just wrong. That's fine. The issue that I'm talking about, that's, you send people who are kind of unskilled, but you're building those things, and you're staying for longer than 2 days. People are staying in homes, you're building relationships. That's what I'm talking about, is trust. I don't disagree with that. What I do disagree with is volunteerism, where someone pays the $5,000 to go down for 5 days, and they spend 1 day doing one thing, and then they go home again, but the other 4 days are clubbing or God only knows what else. That's fine. Most of what you're saying is exactly what I'm saying. Trust, integrity, respect, bridging that gap in that regard. Yeah, I mean, it's no one's perfect. And if you think you're perfect, please go away. There is no such thing when it comes to mortals and humanity. We're really not the smartest people sometimes, sure. But I certainly agree with your assessment. But I have seen, and I see you holding up your hand. I promise you Daniel, he's right here, so I'll get to him in 1 minute. But it drives me crazy when we discuss volunteerism. So an example of what I'm talking about that just drives me absolutely crazy. A friend of mine was running an alternate spring break where they were going to go down and help help a Haitian orphanage. And he said, "Do you want to come?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how much is it?" He said, $3,000. I said, what are you doing? Private chef, limousine, guards. They went to the orphanage once for 1 day for 3 hours. They were very expensive delivery people to deliver food and some supplies. That is exactly what's wrong with the system. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no major issue with that. You might bring some people who are kind of unskilled, but they're there to learn. They're not going to be there for 2 days. Or, my God, 1 day, "Oh, look, we bought some teddy bears for the orphanage." They don't know what that is. They don't have that, and they need it, and the water pump is broke, but they're not going to fix that. So, I told him no, by the way. And when I told him, why do you need guards? "Well, we're going to be going around in limousines. So I want to make sure we don't get robbed." I'm like, "Well, then why are you going around in limousines? Like, why would you do that? Now you made yourself a target, which is why you need guards, and now you're going to be a target." So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, absolutely.
I'm wondering if you're familiar with Heifer International and whether you have any comments about the way they do business.
When it comes to Heifer International, they have a good business model. I have not worked with them in the field, but the idea behind Heifer International, for those of you who do not know, is you pay someone at Heifer, you don't pay someone at Heifer, you pay to buy a goat or something like that, and you buy it locally, which is key. And then when you buy it locally, at Heifer, that goat or cow or whatever has kids. You can sell that and go from there. Depending on where they are, if they understand the local culture and the local things like that, they can do great work. They're still kind of single issue, but that single issue is enough where you can kind of get by on that because it's sustainable. You're producing more things. One of the main reasons that people want goats or pigs or cows in developing countries is because they are banks. Most people don't think about it like this, right? We have a bank. It's called, a bank, and you put money in it. If you're a peasant, if you are doing agricultural work, goats and pigs and cows are protein banks. If you have a bad harvest one year, you eat that instead. And goats reproduce, I think, like once every 8 or 9 months. You can produce like 2 sets, a set and change every year. And you take 2 kids, and you can sell those kids so you're making profit and all that good stuff. I think they do a pretty good model. They do decent work in that specific subset. And usually, they ask people, is this what kind of animal do you want? Is this where do you want to go with this? They're usually very based around that ideology. They're decent people. I have things to say about a lot of NGOs, and most of it isn't good, but they're not too bad. Still got real quiet again.
Do you do internships? And if so, any advice on how to land one?
All right. So, yes. In fact, like half my staff is watching right now. We use a program called Slack, which is an online office. I have 35 volunteers right now. Staff is volunteers right now. We're hoping to fix that real soon. It's really funny. You want to create the new Tinder, people throw millions of dollars at you. You want to save the world. Oh, good, live out of your car. Good for you. Your heart's in the right place. That doesn't pay the rent, ladies and gentlemen. Does not pay the rent. But we're looking to transition to part and full-time employment. Right now, I have people in 7 time zones in the world. I have someone in every time zone in the continental United States. I have someone in Abuja, Nigeria. Hi, Martins. And I have someone in Christchurch, New Zealand. Hello, David. And I also have people in Berlin, Paris, and London. Hello, Margaret. They dial in when they can. They volunteer when they can. They give time when they can. With that being said, I have 3 people who comprise my HR department. You are welcome to go to the website and ask where you can be put in. What we do tell people is, because it drives me crazy, when people come in and they're like, I'll just go wherever you need me to go. I don't need those people. I need people who have skill sets, specific skill sets. I want to help the world is not a skill set. Everyone wants to do that, or everyone pretends they want to do that. I need people who have specific things. We send you through HR. HR interviews you, make sure that you're a decent fit. Then, depending on where you want to go, you get passed on to that director, and they pull you on board. The good news is that you can work from wherever you want to, whenever you want to, for as little as you want to. Some of my people work 3 hours a week. Some people work 40 or 60, 70, whatever. With that being said, we are definitely looking, with respect to research, to add more people because we're beginning to flesh out that team too. We have a couple holes in our skill sets for research. We're looking for, I think Rachel's looking for economists. I'm pretty sure right now my phone's about to explode with like, I'm not looking for that. But we're looking for people who have certain skill sets with respect to research, but we're also looking for turtles, not supernova. And the reason I say that is because we have so many people who come on like, I want to do all this stuff. And then like a month later, they're like, I'm bored, bye. We don't need that. We need people who are going to be here for 4 months, 6 months, a year. Most of my staff, we have a very low turnover. Most of my staff has been with me for at least 2 or 3 years, still volunteer. My co-founder Rachel has been with me since 10 years now. Since she was 21 when we started this. She is now 31. I was 29 when I started this. I am now almost 40. Oh my God, I'm almost 40. Oh, existentialism is wonderful sometimes. So we encourage people who are passionate but can hold that passion for a long time. That's why I say we want turtles. Slow and Steady is going to win this race. We're trying to change an entire system. That is not going to happen overnight. So hopefully that answers your question. Anybody else? All right.
Can't talk without the mic. Please thank Greg Hodgin one more time for an excellent program.
Thank you.
I think we've all learned a lot, and we appreciate you coming, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you all.